Welcome back, everyone, to the HIVE podcast. I am Lawrencia Moten, and I have the pleasure of sitting here with Kelsey Lagunas. Now, Kelsey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Now, congratulations are in order because you are an ODAC champion. How does it feel? Has it actually hit you yet?
A little bit. It's been a really big of an honor because it's not my first time that I've been an ODAC champion.
Yes.
Since my freshman year, I got to end off with indoor with the ladies of becoming an ODAC champion. But this year just felt special because it was a hectic year. It felt like a roller coaster from day when we walked into campus of not knowing how our sports was going to go, how the ending of the spring season would be. So coming in and like feeling that ODAC championship of like, we just did that after putting in a lot of training and being a roller coaster year. It felt amazing just to like win that.
Oh my God, I could just only imagine, because you kind of touched on it a little bit. COVID happened, so your season didn't happen last year. So what was that fire and that hunger that it put in you guys to really come back this year and, kill it like you guys did?
It was definitely the fact that we saw the bigger picture at the end. We saw that, we missed out on a cross country season and we were just hoping to get in that fire of indoor and just see where we actually were competing against all of our ODAC schools because we didn't know what other ODAC schools were doing. And we didn't want to come in not knowing if we were going to be just decent or if we were just going to be okay. We wanted to know that when we stepped onto that line, that we were ready for what we were about to take on. And so that fire was there of like getting ready to know that we're ready to do what we can do.
Awesome. So you're part of a co-ed team that has, somewhat maybe like even 100 athletes in it. So in and of itself, that's an extremely interesting dynamic. So how do you guys make it work, with girls and guys on one team and just the amount of athletes that you have in total?
That's a really good question. We actually make it work by like getting to know each other. So distance, since I'm on a distance co-ed team, of course, we get to know each other by like a lot of runs or doing like exercises of like lifting or doing conditioning circuits or mobility. So we get out to talk to them so we can actually meet our teammates. And even the same thing as track when we see one of our athletes compete on like on a field event or on a running event, and they do really well, we start then talking to them to congratulate them. So we start to understand what their weaknesses or their strengths are and getting to know them just as a human being.
Yeah.
So that is just kind of how we connect as like a co-ed team, is just seeing and congratulating or just picking our teammates up when it doesn't go that well and we kind of know that it didn't go that well. So that's kind of how, as a huge co-ed team, we start to get to bond each other. It's just being back out on a track or being out and doing something the same thing of like a mobility circuit or something, we'd start to bond because we're doing the same routine over and over again.
That's very important. Now, what a lot of people think is that track is like an individual sport, because you're running your race. It's not like you're passing the ball with anyone. I mean, you will be passing the baton depending on, the relay you're doing. But for the most part, it's like you by yourself. Now, how is that, being able to have that team dynamic, but not really, in the same sense, not relying on your teammates in the midst of you doing what you have to do? Like, how do you separate that,
It's a really good thing. Like, so I have a great teammate in hand, Stephanie, who is my training buddy. We do everything together, races, workouts and stuff. But when I've learned that like sometimes our coach separates us apart and we have to then, it's our own individual self and how we perform and how we can show our weakness and our strengths so that our coach knows how to train us correctly. And so when it is a team thing and when we go to a conference, it's all about what we can do as a team together. But how we get to conference is what we can do as an individual at this very moment, because to get up into that higher ranking of being put well for your team, you have to do well as an individual at first to get a great time, to get into the highest seed. So you can probably outperform W&L is one of our big old rivalries. You got Bridgewater, that could be another one. So it's that feeling of like, we have to start from the first day of our meet. And then when we get to conference, it's all about the team. So everything else is individualized to that moment, but individualized so that you can do well as a team at the end. So that mindset of still in the back of the head, it's a team at the end, but I have to do well before I can get to that team at the end.
Ooh, that's really interesting, and I feel like you just touched on a point that a lot of people who have never done track don't know. You said, it's me at first, but that's so I can bring it back to the team, in the end. That's awesome. So now you kind of mentioned it. The women's team has won back-to-back championships. But this one is extremely special because not only did you guys win, but the men's team won as well. So how did that feel to finally be able to get to celebrate with them?
It was such an amazing feeling. I remember when in indoor track, when the guys were so close of getting into that ODAC championship and they missed it by just a hair by WNL. And then when they came back and they dominated it and they came and celebrated with us, it was such a moment of like, I saw the juniors that they're now seniors that got to celebrate with us, and to be something so part of so special and to end their season the way they did as seniors was such a glorifying moment. And I heard other teams, they would just tell me, they're like, your guys are killing it. Like the guys are dominating this race. And I was like, it's because of the work that they put in. And now they get to like just celebrate it and have so much more like joy that they had because they haven't won one since 2014. And so it was that moment of like, nice job, you guys. Like you did it and you came back and you did it with like life gave you lemons and you made lemonade out of it.
I
like,
love
you
that.
Did everything.
That is beautiful. And I'm so happy that you guys got to share that moment together. Now, specifically to you, what is something that maybe you weren't as comfortable with last season, but you improved on for this season?
So I have a really hard time when I race, but sometimes that emotional aspect of not engaging and making a move that I'm not comfortable with is something that I lacked on a lot.
Okay.
And so my whole, like my coach, Jake, and I like worked together, and he kind of told me like, he's like, you're really physically fit, but you're not ready emotionally to make moves. But he's like, but you can do everything that you want to do. You just have to do it. So I learned how to race, even though that sounds weird because I race all the time, but I learned how to stay engaged, to make an emotional response when one of my teammates would go up or I would needed to be with this person. I needed to react to it rather than just be like, I can't do this. I just want to stay comfortable. So that was my biggest weakness. And I came back this spring and I improved upon it. And I was very impressed with myself to see that I can do it. And I still have more to work as an athlete because no athlete has ever done training and working, but it was one step closer to what I need to be for my final result.
I love that. And definitely you can do it and you've been doing it. This past April, I mean, this entire season you've dominated, but this past April you got an astonishing award, a great award. Congratulations to you. And you were the 2021 VASID Track Athlete of the Year. So how did that feel when you got that? And not only did you get that, but I'm looking at your statistics right here now. You had the top times in the ODAC title in the mile. And you are only the second runner in Lynchburg history to get all region in 4 events. Now, how does that feel? Just knowing that not only did you get this award, but you made history at the school that you reside. How does that feel?
It's an honor, really, because I never thought I would ever imagine getting an award like this. When I came to this university, I thought being under Jake, this was going to make me be a huge improvement, but I'd never thought like that improvement would be something of a stamp of a history of Lynchburg. It'd be more of like, I made an improvement myself as a runner for the last 4 years. I grew out as a runner and as a student here, but I never thought I'd make that stamp. And when I first saw it, I kind of was shocked. And I just was like, oh, that happened. This is happening. Because Mark actually told me when I was walking out of a classroom that he's like, hey, did your coach tell you this? And I was like, no, like what? And so I just never thought I would be able to accomplish what I have accomplished within even the 2 years I've been here. And I still have so much more room to grow as myself, but even as the girls' side of a team of like distance and track and field, I'm just so lucky to be on something that's so moving. We are all here for a great purpose of running, but we're also here for a great purpose to grow as ourselves.
I love that, to grow as ourselves. And like you mentioned, you've only done that in just the short span that you've been here. So I'm super excited to see what you do in the future. Now, you touched on it a little bit. You compete indoor and outdoor in both competitions. Now, if you had to choose, which one would you prefer and why?
Well, as my coach always says, indoor is just it's just getting ready for outdoor, but I love outdoor track way more. I never thought I would say it, but I enjoy running a 5K. So 12 and a half laps around a track. I enjoy that a lot. But I do like outdoor better because it is just it's a different atmosphere. You get to see a lot more other teams. You compete with so many different people, and the amount of events that you can see, like field events, it's all there. Everything is, you can walk and be a support of your team. And I love being outdoors. So I definitely love outdoor way better than indoor. But I think of indoor and outdoor being as just like one season now of me just getting, because outdoor is the main kind of like goal where you want to make it to like nationals and you want to continue your season to be a little bit longer, to just see that progression, since I do train all year round, and outdoors kind of like that finishing touch.
Awesome. You're educating us, because I didn't know that outdoor was where you qualify for nationals and everything like that.
You can do for indoors too.
Okay.
It just, outdoor just seems to be more of the, where it's like your training starts to come into play a little bit more with like how we get to peak and start tapering down. So.
Got it. I love that. So I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told a lot of people. And I actually ran track. Everyone knows that, but I was actually on the long distance squad for about a week. And during that time, I pushed my body to limits that I didn't even know existed. And my question to you is, how do you do it? You just said you love running a 5K. And I just remember, I think we had to do like 3 miles a day. That's how we started. It was the beginning of the season. And I just remember running, and I'm just like, I love running, but I like the terrain, seeing the scenery, but like to just do this every day, I just didn't think that I could do it. So they immediately moved me, and I only did the 4x4, high jump and triple jump. But for you, how did you gain that love and that passion? What keeps you going? What do you think about when you run? I just want to know it all.
Well, that's a great question, because some days are not always days that runners want to run, and that's a totally typical normal thing, is not wanting to go run. But it's the atmosphere that you get to have with your team. So we don't really choose like who we get to run with. It's kind of like whoever there's at practice gets to come and you get to run with them. So if that means running with some guys a couple of days, or you're running with the girls team a couple of days, that's great, because then you're of course bonding with your team. But then it's the conversations that struck up that it keeps you going. You get to know about people and know about what they do. And that's the love of like the continue to run, because it's such a social sport. And we get to run on the trails, and even we get to do loops around Lynchburg. So I'm not only seeing just the trail system that we have in Lynchburg, but I'm seeing different types of sites in Lynchburg where we get to go onto the bike path, or we get to go to downtown Lynchburg and we're running there, or we're going where our coach takes us out someplace else on a trail. So we're not seeing the same thing over and over again. But the thing that has stuck with me is the relationships I've built when I get to run, and I get to talk with them, and it might be a deep conversation for that day, or it might be this lighthearted conversation, or it might just be a silent conversation because you just enjoy the company, you're enjoying the scenery around you. So it's those thoughts, those processes that have kept me to love to run, and to just the enjoyment I've had with it.
I love that. So talking while you run, that's what you're saying.
Yes,
but how do you keep that cadence? Because I've tried to talk while I run, and maybe I'm a fast talker, I don't know, but it's hard. So how do you do that? Is it like a low breath kind of talk, or is it like, what is it?
It can be anything. Sometimes if you get really into a conversation, you start talking super, super fast, and then all of a sudden your pace changes, but you just keep going and keep talking, because you're only now starting to focus on what you're saying rather than running. You're just kind of it just feels like it's a natural flow. And so it doesn't feel like when I'm talking, it doesn't feel like I'm taking an extra breath or feeling like I'm losing energy. I'm there having a good time, just enjoying the company I have around me.
That is beautiful. So my last question to you, and this was a great conversation, I just want to say, what is one personal goal that you have for the rest of this year?
So going into like the fall of 2021, my personal goal, I would think as an individual, I would like to see what I can do to make it onto nationals for cross country, since that will be the end of 2021. But I also have the individual goal to be not a leader for the girls side of the team on the distance side, to just improve upon those leadership skills, and just to get to know the girls side a little bit more each and every day, and to know that we are all like humans and we all make mistakes, and that's okay. And so we aren't all perfect, and that's kind of something that on a leadership side I need to improve upon, but on my athletic side I'd like to just see what I can keep doing to make that spot onto the national team by myself or with my teammates. Like,
Yeah.
I know Stephanie is coming back for grad school, and she's right there with me, right as my training buddy, and she's going to push me along. But it'd be awesome to just have even the entire team to come along and make it to nationals and experience that, because like I've always been taught, being with your team is so much better than being with one or two other people or as an individual. When you have your team, it's that comfort side that you get when something's nervous or you're getting anxious, and you just need them to be like, I'm here with you guys. Like, I'm going to be okay in the end.
That is beautiful. Well, I hope all those goals come into fruition. And thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me. And thank you everyone who's watching. Do you have any other words before we log off?
I do not, but thank you for listening.
Of course. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you.